I've never had a problem with the legalization of marijuana. And in fact, I actually said it. I was being interviewed for a different show, and this was, I think, when the ballot question was just being maybe it was being talked about. I'm not sure whether or not it was already we were in the election or the voting cycle for it. But I remember saying it on the air, and people being very surprised by that. But to me, there's really no reason to not be for the legalization, regardless of your background. Now, as a practical matter, I think the last drug case I did was in Middlesex County. I lived there in 1991. From that point forward, my specialties
You've done other
domestic
trials
violence,
based on
yeah, sexual assault, and
Operation
civil rights
Rescue.
violations, yeah, yes. So I had different specialties, but I was never particularly fond of drug cases. But as you know, it depended in some respects. It depended on the county that you practiced in. So in Middlesex County, it was rare to see anybody be incarcerated for marijuana. If the marijuana charge was part and parcel of a slew of other charges, ultimately there might be a guilty finding on all of them, and the person might serve time. But even then, I think even when we were there, a first offense marijuana possession was a mandatory continuance without a finding. I think it goes back that far. But in any event, there wasn't a huge emphasis on it in any event. So I just never I always felt that cannabis had been demonized throughout history, and the fact its journey to becoming a Schedule I drug, I thought was tortured and sort of fraught with xenophobia and some sort of economic considerations. So I never saw an issue with legalization and proper regulation.
And you go from there to being high sheriff, being the jailer for the county of Suffolk County, and as well as being secretary of public safety. I agree with you. I think that's a natural inroad as to where you're going after everything you've seen. Part of Ascend is also dealing with the economic empowerment issue, and you served on the Cannabis Advisory Board as well. Can you explain a little bit more about, as your role as sheriff, what you saw as the economic empowerment part and how Ascend is involved and committed to addressing wrongs?
Yeah, so I was appointed by Attorney General Healy to be on the Cannabis Advisory Board in 2017. I'm still sitting on the board. And as you know, in the regulations, there are social equity provisions carved out in the regulations, and the Cannabis Control Commission had designated economic empowerment applicants along with applicants who previously ran registered marijuana dispensaries, medical marijuana dispensaries, as priority licenses. Unfortunately, the window for people to apply as economic empowerment applicants was very, very short. It was just a couple of weeks in April. And so there's been some struggle around how to get certified as an economic empowerment applicant. And the reason why it's important is that this is a brand new industry. And it's very rare in the United States of America that you have something that is brand new and where if you work at it, you can level the playing field enough for everyone to have an opportunity to be part of this industry, particularly people who've been adversely affected by it, because clearly, the data is just unequivocal that enforcement of drug laws, there's a huge disparity and a huge inequity, a race-based one, on the enforcement of drug laws. And the entire sort of war on drugs was primarily focused on specific groups of people. So it makes some sense for government to want to give better opportunity, but it's also going to be incumbent upon individual businesses, because regulations can only go so far. And so, for Ascend, it's important to me that Ascend is having those conversations, is bringing more people into the industry to diversify the industry, giving people an opportunity. And that's sort of part and parcel of what we've submitted to the CCC as part of our application. But I do, a fair amount of forums and panels and sort of bringing light to the issue. And I speak about it frequently in the Cannabis Advisory Board.